Admiral Park Ji-woo stood in the massive chamber of the Galactic Council and felt small. The room stretched upward for what seemed like miles. Hundreds of alien species filled the curved seating areas, looking down at the two humans standing in the center. The air smelled strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. Beside Park stood Ambassador Kim Min-seo. She wore her formal diplomatic robes and kept her face calm. But Park knew her well enough to see the tension in her shoulders. Something was wrong about this meeting. The council had called it an emergency session. They said it was important. Park and Kim had traveled 3 weeks through space to get here. They thought maybe the council wanted to discuss trade routes or technology sharing. Humanity had only joined the Galactic Council 3 months ago. Everyone was still learning how to work together. Park had been wrong before, but never this wrong. The hierarch Velthos rose from his seat high above them. He was Zarathi, a species that looked like giant praying mantises covered in blue and gold armor. His species had been part of the council for over 10,000 years. He moved his head to look down at the humans with eyes that had no warmth in them. "The council recognizes the human delegation," Velthos said. His voice echoed through the chamber. "You stand before us to answer for your violations." Kim stepped forward. "Violations? Hierarch, we were not informed of any issues. What violations are you referring to?" A sound rippled through the chamber. It took Park a moment to realize the aliens were laughing. Velthos touched a control panel. The air above Park and Kim shimmered. A holographic display appeared, showing images of Earth and the 7 human colony worlds. Red dots surrounded each planet. "These are observation satellites," Velthos said. "We placed them around your worlds 2 months ago. For your protection, of course. We needed to monitor your activities." Park's jaw tightened. No one had asked permission for this. No one had even told humanity about these satellites. He glanced at the hologram again and noticed something. The red dots were not in normal observation positions. They were in weapons range. "These satellites have shown us disturbing developments," Velthos continued. He pulled up more images. They showed human shipyards, factories, and research facilities. "You are building weapons. Large weapons. Weapons that violate the Council's Peaceful Development Act." Kim shook her head. "Those are mining ships and defensive platforms. We have hostile wildlife on 3 of our colonies. The platforms protect our settlements." "You lie." Velthos said it simply, like he was stating a fact. "We have evidence of your military buildup. The Council has analyzed your actions and found them threatening to galactic peace." Park felt his anger rising but pushed it down. Getting emotional would not help. "May we see this evidence?" Velthos waved a clawed hand. More holograms appeared. They showed human ships with weapons. They showed factories producing ammunition. They showed test fires of defensive guns. Everything was taken out of context. The ships were mining vessels with basic protection against space debris and pirates. The factories produced ammunition for hunting and wildlife control. The test fires were standard safety procedures. But the way Velthos presented it made humanity look like it was preparing for war. "This is ridiculous," Park said. "Those images are misleading. Each of those activities has a peaceful purpose. We can provide full documentation." "And silence." Velthos's voice cracked like a whip. "The Council has made its decision. We did not bring you here to debate. We brought you here to inform you of your new reality." Kim's face went pale. "What decision?" Another council member stood. This one was a Florian, a species that looked like walking plants. "The council votes on the human question. All in favor of protective sanctions?" Hundreds of alien hands, tentacles, and appendages rose into the air. "All opposed?" Maybe 10 limbs stayed raised. The rest lowered in silence. "The motion passes," the Florian announced. Velthos looked down at the humans, with what might have been satisfaction. "Effective immediately. Humanity is placed under protective sanctions. You will halt all expansion activities. You will surrender all military vessels to Council custody. You will allow Council supervisors to oversee your governments. This is for the good of the galaxy. Park felt like he had been punched in the stomach. You cannot be serious. We are completely serious, Velthos said. You have 30 days to comply. If you refuse, the Council will take pacification measures. We will protect the galaxy from your aggression, whether you cooperate or not. Kim found her voice. This is outrageous. We have done nothing wrong. We have followed every Council regulation. We have been peaceful neighbors. You are primitives who stumbled into space barely 200 years ago, Velthos said. The chamber filled with that laughing sound again. You think you understand galactic politics? You think you have rights? You exist because we allow it. You have freedom because we grant it. And now we are taking it back. Before you become a real threat. Park stepped forward. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the chamber. Hierarch, I strongly advise you to reconsider this action. You advise me? Velthos leaned forward. You dare to give me advice? Human, I have served on this council since before your species invented the wheel. You will do as you are told. I am trying to help you avoid a terrible mistake, Park said. His voice was still calm, but there was steel underneath. Humanity does not respond well to ultimatums. The entire chamber erupted in laughter. It echoed off the walls and ceiling. Some aliens were slapping their seating areas with appendages. Others made sounds that Park's translator could not even process. Velthos wiped at his eyes with a foreleg. You threaten us? You? With your 7 primitive worlds and your small fleet of mining ships? The Council commands 3,000 worlds. Our fleets number in the millions. We have weapons that can crack planets. And you think you can frighten us? Park said nothing. He just looked up at Velthos and waited for the laughter to die down. When the chamber finally grew quiet, Velthos spoke again. You have 30 days. Comply or face the consequences. This session is concluded. The hologram disappeared. Guards appeared at the chamber doors to escort Park and Kim out. As they walked through the corridors back to their ship, Kim was shaking. What are we going to do? Park did not answer right away. He was thinking. He was remembering history lessons about what happened when powerful nations tried to push humanity around. It never ended well for the powerful nations. We are going to go home, Park finally said. We are going to tell the government what happened. And then, we are going to prepare. Prepare for what? Park stopped walking and looked at Kim. They think we are weak. They think we will just roll over and accept this. They do not know us. At all. Park, they have millions of ships. Thousands of worlds. Technology, we barely understand. They also have arrogance, Park said. They think numbers and technology are everything. They have never fought someone with nothing to lose. He started walking again. Come on, we have a long trip home, and a lot of work to do. Behind them, in the council chamber, Velthos was already planning how to divide up the human worlds among council members. He never considered that the humans might actually fight back. It was the biggest mistake of his very long life. 15 days had passed since the tribunal. The United Earth government had been in almost constant session, and the arguments were getting louder. President Choi Yun-soo sat at the head of the table and listened to her advisors shout at each other. Half of them wanted to comply with the council's demands. The other half wanted to fight. Nobody seemed to have a middle option. We cannot win a war against the entire Galactic Council, Defense Minister Jackson said. He was a tall man from the American sector, and he looked exhausted. Their fleet is 200 times the size of ours. Their weapons are more advanced. This is suicide. And what is compliance? Admiral Park asked. He had returned from the council chambers with a fire in his eyes that had not gone away. They want to take our ships. They want to put supervisors on our worlds. Supervisors who will tell us how to live, what to build, where to go. It is surviving, Jackson replied. We can comply now, and work to change their minds later. Diplomacy takes time. Ambassador Kim shook her head. She looked like she had not slept in days. I have been trying diplomacy for 15 days. I have contacted every moderate council member I can find. Most will not even respond to my messages. The few who do say the same thing. Humanity must learn its place. Then we teach them a lesson, Park said. President Choi held up her hand for silence. What lesson, Admiral? How do we fight an enemy with thousands of worlds? Park stood and activated a hologram display. It showed the Council's fleet positions and their observation satellites around human worlds. We fight smart. We use every advantage we have. And we make them pay for every inch. End quote. We have reason 40. We fight 40. We have critting and doxed. End quote. We have plenty. End quote. Before anyone could respond, an urgent message came through. It was from New Busan, one of the human colony worlds. The face that appeared on the screen was young, maybe 17 years old. She had blood on her face and tears in her eyes. This is Lee Hana, on New Busan. The council inspection teams are here. They have armed soldiers with them. They are not inspecting anything. They are taking whatever they want. The connection was shaky, but they could see chaos behind her. Buildings burning. People running. The sound of weapons fire. My father told them they could not take our mining equipment. Hana continued. Her voice was breaking. We need it to survive. The winter is coming. And without the heat generators from the mines, people will freeze. They did not care. When my father refused to hand over the equipment, they beat him. They broke his legs. They said this is what happens to humans who do not obey. President Choi leaned forward. Hana, where are you now? Are you safe? I am hiding in the communication center. But I can see what is happening outside. They are breaking into homes. They are taking food, medicine, everything. They say it is all illegal because we did not get council permission to have it. Hana wiped at her eyes. Please, we need help. The connection cut out. The room was silent. President Choi looked at each person around the table. She saw the answer in their faces before anyone spoke. Get me reports from all the colonies, she said quietly. I want to know if this is happening everywhere. It was. Over the next 6 hours, reports came in from all 7 human colony worlds. Council inspection teams had arrived with armed escorts. They were not acting like inspectors. They were acting like an occupying army. On New Seoul, council soldiers had taken over the main hospital and removed all human staff. They said humans were not qualified to practice medicine without council oversight. On Novo Hanguk, they had shut down the schools and arrested the teachers. Education had to follow council standards now. On Terra Nova, they had seized the agricultural centers. All food production would now be managed by council appointees. The pattern was clear. The council was not coming to supervise. They were coming to conquer. Admiral Park stood before the president with a data pad in his hand. I have been digging into the council's inspection fleets. I found something interesting. They are not just bringing supervisors, they are bringing governors. Complete administrative staffs, ready to replace our governments. Ambassador Kim looked sick. They planned this. The tribunal was not about justice. It was theater. They were always going to do this. Why? President Choi asked. Why do they want our worlds? We are nothing to them. 7 planets, compared to their thousands. Park pulled up a star map. Look at where our colonies are located. Each one is near a major council trade route or resource field. New Busan sits right next to the richest mineral belt in this sector. New Seoul is 3 jumps from the council's main manufacturing hub. They do not want to destroy us. They want our territory. So they invent a threat, Kim said. They make us look dangerous. Then they swoop in to save the galaxy from the scary humans. and they take our worlds as payment for their protection. President Choi stood and walked to the window. Outside, she could see Earth turning below the orbital station. Billions of people down there. Millions more on the colonies. All counting on her to protect them. She had hoped to avoid this. She had spent her entire career working for peace. But sometimes, peace was not possible. Sometimes, the only way to protect what you loved was to fight for it. She turned back to face the room. How long until the council's deadline? 15 days, Park said. Can we mobilize in that time? Park smiled. It was not a happy smile. Madam President, we have been mobilizing since the day I got back from the council chambers. Every civilian ship we have has been modified. Every mining platform has been converted. Every colonist who can hold a weapon has been training. President Choi raised an eyebrow. You did all that? Without authorization? I did it while we were debating, Park said. Because I knew what choice we would make. Humans do not kneel. Not to anyone. Defense Minister Jackson stood up. If we do this, there is no going back. The council will come at us with everything they have. Then we make sure they regret it, Park said. President Choi looked at Ambassador Kim. Is there any chance for peace? Kim closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, there were tears there. I made one last appeal today. I contacted Councillor Thrain. He is a Vesper. One of the few species that has always been kind to us. I thought maybe he could help. What did he say? He said he was sorry. He said he tried to speak against the sanctions, but no one would listen. The council has made its decision. Humanity must learn its place. Kim's voice hardened. Then he told me that if we comply, maybe in a few hundred years, we can apply for limited autonomy. Maybe. President Choi nodded slowly. She had her answer. Admiral Park, you have full authorization to proceed with your plans. Prepare our forces. When the council comes to take our freedom, we will show them what it costs to threaten humanity. Park saluted. Yes, Madam President. As the meeting broke up and people rushed to their duties, Kim stopped beside Park. Park looked at the star map still glowing on the display. 7 small human worlds against 3,000 council planets. It should have been impossible. I think they have made a mistake, Park said. They think we are weak because we want peace. They think we will surrender because we are outnumbered. They are about to learn something very important about humanity. What is that? We are at our most dangerous when we have nothing left to lose. The council's deadline arrived at midnight, Earth Standard Time. In the council chambers, Hierarch Velthos watched the countdown with satisfaction. Around him, other council leaders gathered to witness humanity's surrender. They had gambling pools going about how long it would take the humans to give up their ships. 5 seconds, someone announced. The chamber grew quiet. Every screen showed different human worlds. They expected to see human ships powering down, weapons being handed over, white flags being raised. The countdown hit 0. Nothing happened. Velthos frowned. He touched his communication panel. Status report. The response came from Admiral Kresh, a Vorian who commanded the Council's primary enforcement fleet. His species looked like armored bears standing upright. Negative, Hierarch. No human ships have powered down. No weapons have been surrendered. They are not responding to our hails. Then activate the observation satellites, Velthos ordered. Fire warning shots at their infrastructure. Nothing vital. Just enough to make them understand we are serious. On screens throughout the chamber, the red dots around human worlds began to glow. The satellites were powering up. In 30 seconds, they would fire on human cities and show humanity the price of defiance. 20 seconds. On New Busan, Lihana stood with her neighbors and watched the sky. Everyone knew the satellites were up there. Everyone knew what was about to happen, but nobody ran. They had decided if this was the end, they would face it standing. 10 seconds. In Earth orbit, Admiral Park sat in the command chair of the UES Indomitable. His entire fleet surrounded him, invisible to Council sensors. They had been using stealth technology borrowed from mining operations, technology the Council did not know humans had. "All ships. On my mark," Park said quietly. 5 seconds. The Council satellites aimed at human cities. Weapons charged. Targeting systems locked. 0. Park smiled. Mark. Throughout the galaxy, in 47 different star systems, the trap was sprung. Every civilian ship that had been moving through Council space suddenly dropped its disguise. Mining vessels revealed weapon batteries. Transport ships deployed fighters. Cargo haulers opened their holds and released clouds of combat drones. The Council had been so busy watching human worlds that they never thought to check their own territory. In the Council chambers, alarms started screaming. Every screen changed from showing human cities to showing Council military installations under attack. "What is happening?" Velthos demanded. "We are under attack," someone shouted. 47 systems reporting simultaneous strikes. Our supply depots, our fuel stations, our repair facilities, they are all being hit. On the screen showing New Busan, the observation satellites suddenly exploded. Not from weapons fire. They just exploded. Park had placed small charges on each one weeks ago, when he first discovered them. The Council had been so confident in their technology that they never checked for sabotage. All around the human worlds, the deadly satellites turned into expanding clouds of debris. "Impossible," Velthos whispered. "How did they get charges onto our satellites?" On another screen, Admiral Kresh's face appeared. He looked shocked. "Hierarch. The humans had people on our satellites for weeks. They have been inside our systems this entire time. They knew everything we were planning." "Deploy the fleet," Velthos ordered. "Crush this rebellion immediately." Kresh nodded and turned away. His fleet was massive. Over 10,000 ships. Against maybe 300 human vessels. It should have been a quick fight. It was quick. Just not in the way Kresh expected. The Battle of New Busan lasted 6 hours. Kresh's fleet came in with standard Council tactics. They formed a battle line, powered up their shields, and prepared for an honorable engagement. The humans did not fight honorably. Mining ships loaded with explosives rammed Council vessels. Small fighters darted in too close for big ships to shoot and cut into hulls with mining lasers. Drones swarmed like insects, attaching to shields and overloading them. And when Council ships tried to retreat, they found human ships behind them. The humans had used the asteroid field. They had hidden ships in the rocks, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Li Hana watched from the ground as Council ships burned in the sky above her world. She felt no joy in it. Just a grim satisfaction that her people were not going down without a fight. On the UES Indomitable, Park watched the battle displays with cold focus. Target, their command ship. All batteries. Fire. The Indomitable was not a warship. 3 months ago, it had been a colony transport, but its hull was thick to protect colonists from radiation. Its engines were powerful to carry heavy loads, and now it had weapons taken from every human military stockpile in the sector. The Council's command ship took hit after hit. Its shields failed. Its armor cracked. And when human marines breached the hull and poured inside, Kresh finally understood what was happening. He was not fighting a minor rebellion. He was fighting a species that refused to lose. The Marines fought deck by deck through the Council ship. They did not take prisoners. They did not stop to negotiate. They just moved forward like a wave, unstoppable and relentless. Kresh tried to reach Velthos, to warn him, but the communication was jammed. The last thing he saw before the Marines reached his bridge was Earth on his view screen, looking small and blue and completely terrifying. While the Battle of New Busan raged, human forces hit targets across Council space. At the Zarathi supply depot in the Margolis system, Captain Yoon Sera led a boarding team that captured the entire facility in under an hour. What they found in the computers made her blood run cold. "Admiral, you need to see this," she transmitted to Park. The files showed months of planning. The Council had been preparing to seize human worlds long before the tribunal. They had drawn up maps dividing human territory. They had written laws to make humans second-class citizens. They had planned everything. The tribunal had been a show, a way to make their invasion look legal. Park forwarded the files to every council member, every news network, every species in the galaxy. Let them see what their leaders had done. Let them see who the real aggressors were. In the council chambers, Velthos watched his perfect plan fall apart. The other council members were shouting at him now, demanding to know why he had not told them about the invasion plans. "It was necessary," Velthos insisted. "The humans are dangerous. We had to act." "You lied to us," Counselor Thrain said. The Vesper looked furious. "You manipulated us into approving a war of conquest. You used our fear to justify theft. I did what was needed for galactic security. You did what was needed for Xerathi expansion," Thrain shot back. "Those human worlds are near our territory, not yours. You wanted their resources for your species." Before Velthos could respond, another alarm sounded. This one was different. This one meant something very bad was happening. "Dax Prime is under attack," someone reported. The entire chamber went silent. Dax Prime was a fortress world. It had shields that could withstand planetary bombardment. It had weapons that could destroy entire fleets. It was supposed to be invincible. The humans attacked it anyway. They did not try to break the shields. Instead, they landed troops on the surface in small ships that were too fast to track. The troops fought their way inside through maintenance tunnels and service hatches. And once inside, they did something the Council had never seen before. They vented the atmosphere, section by section. The humans opened the fortress to space. Council defenders had to choose between fighting or getting to safety. Most chose safety. The ones who chose to fight found themselves facing enemies who did not care about their own survival. Human soldiers fought in vacuum. They fought in zero gravity. They fought in the dark, when the humans cut the power. They fought like every battle was their last, because they knew it might be. Dax Prime fell in 18 hours. When Velthos saw the fortress world's shields go dark, he finally understood. The humans were not trying to win battles. They were trying to send a message. The message was clear. Nothing you have is safe. Nowhere you hide is secure. If you threaten our families, we will burn your entire civilization to the ground. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and watched reports come in from across the galaxy. 47 systems secured. Council forces in retreat. Human casualties were high, but every objective had been met. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission," his communication officer reported. "It is from the Council. They want to negotiate." Park smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Tell them we will consider negotiations after they withdraw all forces from human territory, after they release all prisoners, after they stand down their weapons platforms. And if they refuse," Park looked at the star map, showing Council territory. "So many worlds, so many targets. Then we keep going," he said, "until they understand that threatening humanity was the worst mistake they ever made." 3 weeks into the war, the Galactic Council was fracturing. The species that made up the Council had joined together for protection and prosperity. But they had never expected to face an enemy like humanity. An enemy that did not care about rules or conventions. An enemy that fought like cornered animals. In the Tertian sector, human forces broadcast evidence of the Council's invasion plans on every frequency. They showed the maps dividing human territory. They showed the orders to replace human governments. They showed everything. The effect was immediate. Dozens of Council species began questioning their leadership. If the Council had lied about humanity, what else had they lied about? Some colonies started to rebel. Not all of them. but enough to make the council nervous. Councillor Thrain watched it all from his chambers and felt sick. He had tried to stop this. He had warned them that pushing humanity was dangerous. Nobody had listened. Now the galaxy was burning, and he could not see how to put out the fire. Admiral Park stood in the war room aboard the Indomitable and studied the strategic map. His staff surrounded him, tired but determined. They had won every battle so far, but Park knew better than to celebrate. The Council's main fleet is gathering at the Nexus, his intelligence officer reported. Estimates put their numbers at over 50,000 ships. 50,000 against humanity's remaining force of maybe 2,000. The Council was bringing everything they had. How long until they are ready to move? Park asked. 72 hours, maybe less. Park nodded slowly. This was the decisive moment. If humanity could break the Council's main fleet, the war would end. If they failed, Earth and all the colonies would fall. Prepare the fleet, he said. We move to intercept in 24 hours. Captain Yoon Sarah approached him after the briefing ended. Sir, the numbers are not good. Even with everything we have, we cannot match that kind of firepower. We do not need to match it, Park said. Sarah looked at him for a long moment. You have a plan. I always have a plan. The Nexus was a strategic point where 3 major trade routes met. Controlling it meant controlling access to a third of Council space. The Council had chosen it because they wanted to make a statement. They wanted to crush humanity in a place everyone could see. Park was happy to give them their big battle. Just not the one they expected. The human fleet arrived first. Park positioned his ships in a defensive formation and waited. He made it look like humanity was preparing for a last stand. Desperate defenders, waiting for the inevitable. The Council fleet came out of hyperspace in perfect formation, 50,000 ships, gleaming and powerful. At their head was the CNS Eternal Glory, Hierarch Velthos's personal flagship. Velthos had demanded to lead this battle personally. He wanted to be there when humanity was crushed. He wanted to see their ships burn. Admiral Kresh, who had survived the Battle of New Busan, tried to warn him. Hierarch, the humans are tricky. They do not fight like we expect. We should be careful. Careful? Velthos laughed. Look at them. 2,000 ships against 50,000. They are finished. This ends now. The Council fleet advanced in textbook formation, shields up, weapons charged, moving like a wall of steel and energy. Park watched them come and smiled. All ships. Begin retreat. Make it look panicked. The human ships turned and ran. Not in formation. Not in an orderly withdrawal. They scattered like frightened birds. Each ship going a different direction. Velthos saw it and felt triumph surge through him. They are breaking. All ships. Pursue. Do not let any escape. Kresh felt his stomach drop. Hierarch, this could be a trap. It is a rout, Velthos insisted. Chase them down. The Council fleet broke formation to pursue. 50,000 ships spreading out across the system, each one chasing a fleeing human vessel. Park counted down in his head. 10 seconds. 9. 8. The human ships led their pursuers deeper into the system, deeper into the asteroid field, deeper into the trap. 3, 2, 1. Now, Park said quietly. Hidden throughout the asteroid field, thousands of weapons platforms activated. They had been there for days, placed by human engineers, working in secret. Magnetic mines, missile batteries, plasma cannons, everything humanity could build or steal. The Council ships flew right into the kill zone. The asteroids themselves exploded, having been hollowed out and filled with explosives weeks ago. Entire sections of the Council fleet vanished in fire and debris, and then the human ships stopped running. They turned. They accelerated back toward their pursuers. And behind them came reinforcements. Ships from every human colony. Civilian vessels modified for combat. Fighters launched from hidden carriers. The Council fleet suddenly realized they were not the hunters. They were the prey. All ships, reform! Reform the battle line! Velthos screamed into his communicator, but it was too late. The Council ships were spread out across the system, isolated and vulnerable. The humans hit them in groups, overwhelming individual vessels before moving to the next target. Captain Sarah led a boarding team onto a Council cruiser. They fought through the corridors with a ferocity that terrified the defenders. When the Council crew tried to surrender, Sarah had to stop her Marines from killing them anyway. "We are not like them," she told her troops. "We fight hard, but we do not murder prisoners." The Marines listened. They secured the prisoners and moved on to the next ship. Lihana was there too. The girl from New Busan had joined the resistance fighters after her colony was attacked. Now, she piloted a fighter through the chaos of battle. Her movements precise and cold. She shot down 3 Council fighters and damaged a frigate before her craft took a hit. As she ejected, she saw a Council escape pod nearby. Inside were young Zarathi. Maybe her age. Maybe younger. She could have left them. Let them drift until their air ran out. It would have been justice for what they did to her father. Instead, she activated her emergency beacon and marked their location for rescue. Then she transmitted to them directly. "Stay calm. Help is coming. We are not monsters." The young Zarathi did not respond. But Hana knew they heard her. Let them go home and tell their families that a human saved them. Let them wonder why. On the Eternal Glory, Velthos watched his fleet die. Ship after ship went dark on his displays. Thousands of vessels destroyed or captured. His perfect formation shattered. His overwhelming advantage turned into a massacre. "Hierarch, we must retreat," Kresh urged. "We have lost. We need to preserve what we can." "No!" Velthos slammed his appendage against the console. "We cannot lose to primitives. We cannot. We already have," Kresh said quietly. An explosion rocked the flagship. Human ships were targeting it now, recognizing it as the command vessel. Velthos felt fear for the first time in his long life. "Hierarch, they are boarding us," someone reported. Velthos looked at his screens and saw human Marines cutting through his hull. They moved with purpose, heading straight for the bridge. The bridge doors exploded inward. Human soldiers poured through, weapons ready. They secured the room in seconds, professional and efficient. Then a single human walked in. He was large for their species, scarred, and carrying a rifle that looked like it had seen many battles. His name tag read, Quan Taeyang, Sergeant. Quan looked around the bridge until his eyes found Velthos. "Hierarch Velthos, you are under arrest for war crimes." "You cannot arrest me," Velthos said. "I am a member of the Galactic Council. I have diplomatic immunity." Quan smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Your council does not exist anymore. Look," he pointed at the view screen. It showed the battle, or what was left of it. The council fleet was in ruins, burning ships, debris fields, escape pods, floating everywhere. "Your fleet is destroyed," Quan said. "Your government is falling apart. Member species are already pulling out of the council. You have nothing." Velthos felt his legs give out. He collapsed onto the deck. "This is impossible. We are the council. We have ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. You ruled because everyone was afraid," Quan said. "But you made a mistake. You attacked someone who was not afraid of you. Someone who would rather burn the galaxy than kneel." "You are monsters," Velthos whispered. Quan shook his head. "No. We are humans. You threatened our children. You tried to take our freedom. What did you think would happen?" Before Velthos could answer, a new voice came over the communication system. It was Counselor Thrain. "Admiral Park, this is Counselor Thrain. I am transmitting to all ships, council and human. The Galactic Council is dissolved. Those of us who remain are suing for peace. Please, no more death. Park's face appeared on every screen. He looked tired. Counselor Thrain, humanity will accept peace talks, but only under our conditions. Name them, Thrain said. Complete withdrawal from all human territory. Release of all prisoners. War crimes trials for those who started this. And a new galactic order, where no species can claim authority over another. There was a long pause. Then Thrain spoke again. I accept. On behalf of what remains of the Council, I accept. Park nodded. Then the shooting stops now. All human forces, cease fire. Secure prisoners, and render aid, where possible. Across the battlefield, human ships stopped firing. They began rescue operations instead, pulling survivors from damaged vessels. Velthos watched it all, and finally understood. The humans had not been fighting for conquest. They had been fighting for freedom, and now that they had it, they were showing mercy to their enemies. It made what he had done so much worse. 2 months after the Battle of the Nexus, the former council chambers looked very different. The high seats where council leaders once looked down on others were empty. In their place, a circular arrangement of equal-height tables filled the floor. Representatives from 300 species sat together, none higher than any other. Admiral Park stood at the center and looked at the faces around him. Some showed hope. Some showed fear. Some showed anger. All of them were here, because they had to be. The galaxy had changed. The old order was gone. Now they had to build something new. Ambassador Kim Min-seo stood beside him. She had spent the last 2 months in constant negotiations, trying to prevent the collapse of galactic civilization. She looked exhausted, but determined. The peace conference will now begin, she announced. We are here to establish a new framework for galactic cooperation. One based on consent, not coercion. A Florian representative stood. The humans have destroyed the council. What gives you the right to dictate terms? Park turned to face them. We do not dictate. We propose. Every species here has an equal voice. That is the whole point. But you have the military power, the Florian insisted. You could force us to agree to anything. We could, Park agreed. But we will not. We did not fight this war to become the new council. We fought for freedom. That includes your freedom. Councillor Thrain stood from his seat. He had been one of the few council members to survive with his reputation intact. I have worked with the humans for 2 months now. They mean what they say. They truly want cooperation, not domination. Then why are their fleets still deployed throughout our territory? A Zarathi representative demanded. It was not Velthos. The former hierarch was in a cell, awaiting trial. Our fleets are maintaining order while we establish the new system, Kim explained. As soon as each sector has a functional local government, we will withdraw. We have no interest in occupation. How can we trust that? Park smiled slightly. Because if we wanted your territory, we would have taken it already. We beat the entire council fleet with a fraction of their numbers. If we wanted an empire, you could not stop us. He paused. But we do not want an empire. We want partners. End. The room fell silent. Representatives looked at each other, considering his words. A small voice spoke up. It came from a Vesper representative, one of Thrain's people. What are the proposed terms? Other NO. Kim activated a holographic display. The new Galactic Charter. It is simple. No species may claim authority over another without consent. All agreements between species must be voluntary. Disputes will be resolved through arbitration, not force. And any species that violates these principles will face collective response. Who enforces these rules? Someone asked. We all do, Park said. Each species contributes to a mutual defense force. No single species controls it. If someone breaks the rules, the collective decides how to respond. And if someone breaks the rules against a weak species, one that cannot defend itself, then the rest of us defend them, Kim said firmly. That is the point of collective security. No one stands alone. A Margolin representative stood. Their species had been one of the first to defect from the Council during the war. When Council loyalists attacked our colonies, human ships came to our defense. They asked for nothing in return. The Margolin looked around the room. I trust them more than I ever trusted the Council. More species began to speak, sharing their experiences. Some had been helped by human forces. Others had seen human mercy toward prisoners and wounded. Slowly, the mood in the room began to shift, but not everyone was convinced. This is all very noble, a Vorian admiral said, but words are easy. How do we know humanity will not change its mind in a few years? Decide that ruling the galaxy is easier than cooperating? Before Park could answer, the doors to the chamber opened. A group of humans entered, escorted by guards. They were not diplomats or military officers. They were colonists from the 7 human worlds. Lihanna walked at their front. She was 18 now, no longer the frightened girl who had broadcast from New Busan. The war had aged her, but it had not broken her. She approached the center of the chamber and bowed slightly to the assembled representatives. May I speak? Kim looked surprised but nodded. Of course. Hana turned to address the room. My name is Lihanna. I am from New Busan. When the council came to my world, they beat my father and burned our homes. They said it was for galactic security. They said we were dangerous. The room listened in silence. I hated them for that. Hana continued. I wanted revenge. When the war started, I joined the fighters. I shot down council ships. I celebrated when they died. She paused, but then I saw something. During the Battle of the Nexus, I saw council escape pods. Young people like me. Scared and alone. I could have left them to die. Instead, I called for rescue. Why? Someone asked. Because revenge is not justice, Hana said. Because killing them would not bring back what I lost. Because, if we become like the Council, if we rule through fear and violence, then we did not win. We just became the new monsters. She looked around the room. The humans here, my leaders, they could take whatever they want. But they are choosing something harder. They are choosing to build instead of conquer. And I am here to tell you that this is not just political talk. This is who we are. She reached into her bag and pulled out a datapad. This contains testimony from 300 council prisoners. We asked them how they were treated while in human custody. You can read it yourselves. We gave them medical care. We fed them. We treated them with dignity. Even the ones who had hurt us. Kim took the datapad and projected its contents. Testimony after testimony appeared. Council soldiers describing human medics saving their lives. Council officers talking about fair treatment. Even a few admissions that they had expected torture and received kindness instead. We are not perfect, Hana said. We fought hard. We killed when we had to. But we never forgot that our enemies were people too. That is the difference between us and the old council. And that is why you can trust us now. She bowed again and returned to her seat. The chamber erupted in discussion. Representatives argued and debated, but Park could see the shift. Hana's words had reached them in a way his could not. After an hour of debate, Thrain stood. I propose we put the new galactic charter to a vote. All in favor? All in favor. 300 appendages of various types rose into the air. All opposed? Maybe 30 stayed raised. The rest lowered in acceptance. The motion passes, Thrain announced. The new galactic charter is adopted. Park felt something release in his chest. They had done it. The war was truly over. But the work was just beginning. Over the next 6 months, the new system took shape. Species that had been suppressed under the Council formed their own governments. Trade routes reopened. Humans began withdrawing their forces as promised, returning to their 7 worlds. The war crimes trials were difficult but necessary. Velthos and 43 other council leaders faced justice for fabricating evidence and starting an illegal war. The trials were fair, with lawyers from multiple species representing all sides. Velthos was found guilty. As he was led away to imprisonment, he stopped before Park. "Why did you not just kill me? Why give me a trial?" Park looked at the former hierarch with no anger, no hatred, just sadness. "Because we are better than you thought we were. I hope someday you understand that." 1 year after the war ended, a memorial was unveiled on New Busan. It stood in the center of the city that had been burned during the council's occupation. The monument was made of black stone and listed the names of everyone who had died in the war. Human and alien names, side by side. Li Hana stood before it with her father. He still walked with a limp from his injuries, but he was alive. They had rebuilt their home. They had rebuilt their lives. "Do you think it was worth it?" her father asked quietly. Hana considered the question. So many had died. So much had been destroyed. But the galaxy was free now. Species that had lived under council control for thousands of years were governing themselves. Children were growing up in a world where no one could claim authority over them just because they were stronger. "Yes," she said, "it was worth it." Ambassador Kim stood nearby with Councillor Thrain. They had become friends during the peace negotiations. Now, they worked together to help species adapt to the new system. "I am sorry," Thrain said. "For what the council did. For not speaking up louder. For not stopping it." Kim shook her head. "You tried. That matters. And now, you are helping build something better." "Do you think it will last?" Thrain asked. "This new order? I think it has a chance," Kim said, "as long as we remember what it cost to create it." Admiral Park stood apart from the crowd, watching the ceremony. His uniform was different now. He was no longer just a military commander. He had been elected as one of humanity's representatives to the new Galactic Assembly. Captain Sierra approached him. She had been promoted to admiral herself, and now commanded the human contribution to the Mutual Defense Force. "The new recruits are training well," she reported. "Humans and aliens working together. It is going better than expected." "Good," Park said. "We need to make sure this peace lasts." "Do you think it will?" Park looked at the memorial, at the names carved in stone. "I think we gave it the best chance we could. We showed the galaxy that humanity will fight for freedom. Ours and theirs. That is a powerful message. And if someone tests it? If another species decides to try what the council did?" Park's expression hardened slightly. "Then we remind them what happened to the last ones who tried. But I hope it does not come to that. I have had enough war for one lifetime." As the sun set on New Busan, the crowd began to disperse. Hana placed flowers at the base of the memorial and whispered a prayer for the fallen. Then she turned and walked toward the new school that had been built. She was training to be a diplomat now, learning to build bridges instead of walls. Kim watched her go and smiled. "That is our future. Young people who remember the cost of war and choose peace, but who can fight if they must," Park added. "That is the balance we need to maintain." Thrain nodded slowly. The galaxy learned a hard lesson. Humanity extends its hand in friendship. But if you strike that hand, you face the consequences. "Not just humanity," Park corrected. "All of us now. That is what the Charter means. We all protect each other. We all hold each other accountable." As the three of them stood together, human and alien, former enemies now allies, the first stars appeared in the darkening sky. Each one represented a world, a species, a story. The galaxy had changed. The old order of domination and fear was gone. In its place stood something fragile but hopeful. A new order built on consent and cooperation. It would not be easy. There would be disputes and challenges. Some species would test the boundaries. Some would try to return to the old ways, but they would face a united response now, not from one dominant power, but from all species working together. The council had made a mistake. They thought humanity was weak because humans wanted peace. They thought they could take what they wanted without consequence. Instead, they learned that humanity's desire for peace made them more dangerous, not less. Because when peaceful people are finally pushed to war, they fight with the fury of those who have tried every other option. And once they won, they did something the council never could. They built something better from the ashes. The galaxy would remember. For generations to come, parents would tell their children about the day humanity erupted in rage, about how the council's mistake cost them everything, about how humans fought not for conquest but for freedom, and about how, when given the choice between ruling the galaxy and freeing it, humanity chose freedom. That choice made all the difference.